Those casualties of the First World War battles, lucky enough to survive their injuries, were sent from the major trauma hospitals abroad to recuperate in auxiliary hospitals back home in Blighty. By this time, their lice-crawling, mud-covered, blood-caked uniforms would have been cut off and destroyed. Once in hospital back in Britain, they were supplied with military-issue undergarments, pyjamas and, once they were well enough, a wool uniform known as hospital blues. Where possible, the soldier's service cap and badge would have been returned with him, along with any small personal items in a Blighty bag. The first time a soldier was well enough to get up will have been a big moment, but he will still have needed some support and care, depending on the nature of his injuries. Socks were hand-knitted by volunteers, and seamed with the invisible Kitchener stitch to avoid any chafing. VAD nurses were volunteer nurses who trained on the job, caring for patients both physically and emotionally. They changed dressings, bathed the patients, and did all the physical care until such time as the patients were able to care for themselves. The hospital uniform included a white collarless shirt and separate collar attached with collar studs. A bright red wool or cotton tie was an important and distinctive part of the uniform. The uniform marked the soldier out as a returning hero, but there were other practical reasons for its design. It was usually made without pockets, and its bright colours meant that it was difficult for them to sneak off to the local pub, or to go absent without leave, as the uniform meant they could not slip away unnoticed. Commissioned officers, though, wore their own uniforms, and their own silk pyjamas. The hospital blues were only for the other ranks. The hospital blues were made from an Oxford blue shade of wool flannel, lined with cream. They were mass-produced and very simple in their cut and construction. They were rather more like pyjamas than anything else. The trousers were long and had to be rolled up to fit. They had a pyjama drawstring at the waist, a button fly, and braces to hold them up. The blue wool jacket had buttons of bone, and the sleeves were rolled up to fit, revealing the cream lining. It was designed to be loose enough to go over any dressings that were still required. Lace-up leather boots, probably military issue, were worn. Finally, the soldier's service cap would be returned to him to mark this important stage of recovery. Normanby Hall in Lincolnshire was one such auxiliary hospital, nursed by VAD nurses, overseen by Army nurses. Over 1,200 servicemen were treated there, all of whom recovered sufficiently to return home or be sent back to the front line.